All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the College of Complexes. My name is Tim. I'll be moderating tonight. Tonight's debate's going to be on 9/11, but before we get started, we all know the devastation that the terror attacks had to our country, and I'd like to at least acknowledge the victims with a short moment of silence. All right, the college consists of the following format. We have a brief announcement session, followed by the presentation of our speaker. Then we have a question and answer session, followed by our infamous rebuttal session. The college only has two working rules. One is one fool at a time, and the second is no personal attacks. I would also like to let everybody know that these are being taped, and that past appearances in the College of Complexes can be found at the College of Complexes website by clicking on the camera, or at my website by clicking on at www.timsvideo.com. You'll see there. And let's get to our speaker, Mr. Bill Lee. Bill Lee will present evidence and exhibits to say. He says that we'll lift the clouds of ignorance concerning conspiracy theories, and it takes a brief look at and refutes each of the major conspiracy theories, such as the World Trade Center collapse, the military response, World Trade Center 7, premature reports, the attack on the Pentagon, and explains how the U.S. has engaged in a new type of war. He maintains that many of the theorists only rely on single sources of information. Attendees are recommended to come prepared with issues of the day as they raise. Let's welcome again Mr. Bill Lee.
How's the volume? Good. Okay. Video first. A little short thing, about a minute long.
Just keep talking for
You'll see there's the green cards, if you didn't know. That's for writing down your questions. You can give them to me and I can answer them during the presentation. You can, of course, write notes as I'm going along if you want to challenge me on anything, or when you give your own presentation. So I hope you'll take use of those notes. And how are we doing?
It's just a second. I'm trying to get the CD
Windows
player
Media Player is right next to the Explorer.
I want to ask Tim, now, my presentation, I'm allotted how much time?
Take as long as you need.
As long as I
Up to an hour.
Okay, so I'm allotted an hour, so you're saying this is my time to do as I wish?
That's correct.
I control the 1 hour.
Well, yeah, please.
My time, 1 hour, okay?
If I can get the CD to play.
More or less.
That helps.
At least an hour. Anyways, I control the time. Starting at, say, 6:30, be done before 7:30.
Yeah, something like that. What the heck?
What's your background, sir?
I'm having...
Okay, well, fine, I can tell you that. I retired from the Air
Why don't
Force
you go in
after
Windows
20 years.
Explorer and find the
I
disc?
started out as a jet engine mechanic and then went into Ford Air Control. So I have experience in jet engines,
DRW drive.
taking them apart, putting them back together, know their capabilities, the different components.
Right at the top.
Interesting thing, people get hung up on silly little things, like a plane couldn't have gone in the Pentagon, a plane couldn't have gone into the World Trade Center because it would just crush like an aluminum can. I saw what a bird did to a jet engine. You know, the blades are made out of titanium. It shredded titanium blades. A bird did. So where physics is concerned, it's all about speed and mass. Even little things.
It's not seeing the TV.
The space shuttle, it got nicks on the windshield by hitting paint chips. If you're going fast enough, there's hyper velocity weapons. They're just little projectiles, and they'll go through, 10 inches of steel, whatever. So when it comes to physics and the capabilities of objects and what they can penetrate, it's all about speed and mass. And you don't really see physicists contradicting the official story. You have a lot of armchair people and people who are on the outskirts, outliers, who say this couldn't happen. Says who?
Let me.
Not do it?
No, Paul's gonna have to take over. He's gonna play
Let's see
it.
what else.
No, he's gonna get going.
Fred, I know that.
Oh, thank you. Hey, you know what your plate? Yes.
We're just having a little.
You get a chance, bring some more water.
I can use a box.
We see the files, we will have it playing shortly.
Just file and hit the or the
Play something, insert a DVD.
The DVD's in there, I take it.
It is.
It's a conspiracy.
Okay. Okay, guys, if you listen up. Good volume? Oh, geez. We don't have volume, maybe. Well, let's start over.
Start it over.
You bring that up.
Okay, come on. Let's start it again, Paul.
Okay. Good. Restart. Right here. Here, give me.
Let's hear this again. Lying your ass off. If anybody hears me lying about anything, please jump up and say you're lying. Okay? So I can answer that.
Engine went out into the street.
Listen up, guys.
They found a big hunk of the fuselage, landing gears, little pieces. They found debris everywhere. I'll ask you, where did all this debris come from? I'm asking you. Where did the debris come from? There were a couple of three pieces. That's a three rivers, and they were obviously flat.
Mr. Aranda. Mr. Aranda believes there's 3-4 pieces around the World Trade Center. Misquote you?
I think, what were we talking about, the Pentagon at that moment?
World Trade Center.
Okay, whatever, yeah, there were just a couple.
A couple, three.
pieces, yeah.
So we quoted you correctly.
Pretty much.
Okay, good. We'll cover that stuff. Okay, let's go number 2.
Okay, DVD number 2 has to go in.
Once again, okay, so these comments were like 3 minutes at the end of the presentation. Don't wait 3 minutes before the end of the presentation and say, what is this? What about this? You've got all night. You've got 2 hours.
All right.
Bring it up as I'm saying it. That disturbs you.
Okay, you pretty much lied
Stand up,
about
Ted.
that.
Okay, go ahead.
With the
Stand up.
titanium-
Stand up and let us know what I lie about.
Titanium blades, okay, are not going to be shredded by a bird at any speed.
Really?
Yeah, really. Okay.
So I lied. I didn't see it.
Birds might dent the skin of the plane.
Okay, thank
But they're
you.
not going to shred titanium blades. That's bullshit.
Right. It's bullshit.
Yeah, that's right.
I saw it.
Not thick blades, anyway. How thick were those blades?
We're talking about fan blades on a jet engine.
How thick are they?
Fan, what are they, about a quarter-inch or so?
Quarter-inch, and a bird is going to shred those. Quarter-inch titanium. No.
See, okay, okay, thank you, it's my time, right? Yes. Okay, he's, Mr. Aranda, do I say Mr. Aranda? Aranda?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Aranda, you see, he's coming at this by an armchair commentator and not the experts. You haven't talked to any aircraft or engine maintenance experts. You're only going by your own common sense?
No, I've studied terminal ballistics, which is the study of what happens when a projectile hits
Yes.
a target. Or
Okay.
area.
Well, okay, what you studied was incomplete. Anyways,
Yeah,
so
according to
he
you.
can say, okay, fine, my
He doesn't
time.
have a degree in metallurgy.
This sounds loud.
I turned it down a little bit. That's okay, go ahead, keep going.
Okay, in any case, like I said, I was a jet engine mechanic. I saw an engine that ingested a bird. It shredded the fan blades, which are made of titanium. Now, oh, and also the engine, the bird was starting to, well, the remains, starting to stink, you know, because the guts were all over the thing. So, He says I'm lying. Can't refute that. He says I'm lying. It happened. I saw it.
All right, Gary.
And, well, whatever. I could bring a pilot and we can call him and say, hey, remember that jet engine? In fact, there was a guy, pilot that I knew. It was his plane. We can call him and he can say, oh yeah, I remember that jet engine. In any case.
Okay,
So there you go.
Gary.
Presentation, there you go.
All right, you got a question? He's got one more question.
Just one quick question. You said that physicists don't support your theory. Richard Gage,
He's not a physicist.
I'm sorry, Stephen Jones is a physicist according
Stephen
to this.
Jones, physicist, was he? Okay. I'm saying, okay, there are a few, I said a few outliers. There are a few outliers, yes, but the mainstream most, how many can you cite that refute the official story? What, 6?
I think there's quite a few hundred.
I know, you think that. There isn't. You're talking, okay, fine, we'll get into that. Here's the thing, is people will believe what they want to believe. I can talk all day, all night. I can present everything, but, oh, can I control that or only you?
I'll get a remote for you.
Okay, so you can start flip. All right, and you can go every like 5 seconds until we show a picture, okay? Okay, great. People have their own bias and believe what they will believe and cannot be dissuaded no matter what I bring. It's just the way people are. Why is that? A lot of it's ego, feeling of superiority. I'm smarter than you. I'm special. I know more than you do. So people cannot be brought out of their bias and disbelief. Next one. Okay, we'll go to the picture. Next. Yes. Very good. So all these people, a lot of people who you refer to and reference, you really have to go to the source documents to find the truth, and not what these people are getting through their own common sense or their own biases. It's not facts what they're going by, it's only their opinions. All this stuff is opinions. So this story of September 11th, North Tower gets hit first. And
Okay, next one, Paul.
South Tower gets hit second, farther down. And then the Pentagon gets hit about 9:36 in the morning. Yes. And then finally, the Flight 93 lands in a field in Shanksville, outside of Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Next one.
Okay, we're getting a remote set up for you.
Right. So there's the Pentagon. It has 5 rings. The outside is E ring. No.
No, there's no battery for it.
Can we go to the next one? There you go. So, Pentagon, 5 rings. Starts on the outside, the E ring, into the A ring. The plane comes in on the heliport side. You see the little white spot on the far side? That's the heliport. The plane impacted between the corner and the heliport.
Sorry, we got it.
Now it's
Here.
fine. We're good. Now, where am I going to point this?
Forward, backwards, just.
I usually catch the bus at that station on.
Is that right? That's awesome. Hope you tell us about it in your
We got it.
comments time.
Turn around so we can see it.
It's the bus station.
Yeah, okay. So,
Here's your monitor.
okay, great. See how this will work.
The right one is forward, the left one is back.
Okay,
Sorry about all the trouble.
thank you.
He would have told us he needed all this ahead of time, we would have had it ready.
I think he's right.
Okay. Playing good. So, what's that?
Okay, this is what a bird strike
Right, I know. You need to
does.
show.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you that.
I know that. I've seen it myself. It doesn't matter though. Doesn't matter. Anyways.
So you should avoid birds.
So anyways, back one, good. American Airlines Flight 77, Boeing 757. It comes in at that angle, knocks over 5 light poles as it's going through. It's, okay, let's go back one. Okay. Ooh. Oh, okay. Looks like I'm missing some slides. Well, in any case. So, these are some people who are along the highway. The plane goes over 2 major highways. So there's hundreds of people, and it's rush hour traffic. They're stopped, they see it. Hundreds of people saw a plane go in the Pentagon. This is what some of the people said. This guy was an actual, right, this person was an actual airline pilot, and he recognized the plane.
I can't talk now. Hold it down.
Said the jet roared over my head, clearing my car by about 25 feet. The tail of the plane clipped the overhanging exit sign above me as it headed straight into the Pentagon. So witnesses to the Pentagon, there's this compilation was done shortly after the incident, like within a year. Now there's many, many more people who saw the plane go in the Pentagon and aren't recorded. Others I have read independent of these instances. No one saw anything other than a plane going to the Pentagon. So, makes the hole in the E-ring. There was a fireman on duty there next to the heliport, okay? And he's walking away from the heliport, and he hears this roar. He turns around, the plane's about to impact. So he runs, makes about 3 steps, and it impacts. Okay? He says, so he jumps in the truck, which happens to be on fire. He calls his chief at nearby Fort Myer. He says, we have had a commercial carrier crash into the west side of the Pentagon at the heliport. The crew is okay. Their airplane was a 757 Boeing or 320 Airbus. It's amazing that he could recognize it because his normal duty station was at Reagan National Airport, so he's familiar with aircraft. And then the remains of the plane, it comes out of the C-ring, goes to E, D, C-ring, outside wall, and what's left of it comes through. And of course there's debris all over the place.
I got a question.
And of course, hang on, you can see the landing gear that was found inside the rubble and then compared with a 757 landing gear. The engine component compared with the specifications of a 757. This here, that looks like a turbine blade. Like I said, I've taken apart jet engines. How many people here have taken apart jet engines?
I do it every now and then.
Yeah? Okay. You were in the Air Force or what service? So anyways, for me, that looks like a turbine rotor. Okay, Charlie, what you got?
According to the guy that was here at the college, and he said that there was no big airplane that hit the Pentagon.
Right.
It was only a cruise missile.
Right.
And then they set off some dumpsters on fire.
Dumpsters. Okay, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
to fool everyone into
Right.
making a lot. I guess they had like smoke bombs.
Yeah, we'll cover that.
Something like
We'll cover that.
to trick everyone.
A lot of people have wondered about the. Go ahead.
Have you heard of Barbara Honger's?
Oh yeah, I've read her stuff. Yeah, she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Well, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She says that there's high probability that a drone
Right.
was flown at the
Right.
That's
What was the drone?
That's what you see with those with that
Right.
debris.
And
That
it's
debris
fine.
was not big airliner debris.
Right. In any case, do you have any idea what kind of drone she
Global
thought it was?
I
A global. Okay.
I'm not sure exactly.
Right. Right. And then the accounts of all the people who saw a 757 go in the Pentagon. What do you make of that?
You can get a lot of people to say a lot of bull.
So they all lied.
You pay them a lot.
Okay, they all
The
lied.
Pentagon has-
How many
the United
people
States
saw?
government has trillions of dollars.
Thank you. My time. Thank you. You've got your rebuttal period. I appreciate you
They were
giving your
paid?
input. Now, have you heard of anybody say that anything other than a plane went in the Pentagon? Yes or no? Okay, that's a no.
Yes, people saw a drone.
People saw a drone. You have that reference. You have that reference. You didn't bring. Of course not. Of course not. You didn't know I was coming here for an entire year, but you don't have it with you. Got it. Okay, Mr. Yeah, Linton.
Have you ever heard of Major General Albert Stubblebine?
Oh, geez, he saw some pictures. Yeah, I know exactly who he is. Okay, General Stubblebine.
Tell us about it.
He is a photographic analyst. Okay, he works in Intel, and his job often was to look at pictures and to determine what they were, surveillance pictures. Okay, reconnaissance. Okay, so he said, you know, there's no way a 757 went into the building. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't a 757. Accurately described?
He said it was no big plane of any kind.
Right, fine. He knows that's quibbling. He knew it wasn't a 757 that went into it, correct?
A 757 is a big plane.
Yeah, and he said it wasn't.
He said there was.
That's right.
There was no evidence of any.
Right, that's right.
57, 67, otherwise.
Fine. Yep, he said there was no evidence of a plane going in there. That's
One
fine.
point. Albert Stubblebine is in the Military Intelligence Hall of Fame. And
Fine.
There's hundreds of people
Fine.
that have more credentials than you and me.
Fine. He didn't see the plane.
But what you're
He didn't see
standing
the.
up there
No,
saying
it's
there's
not. Here we go. It's my time. You got your rebuttal. There you go.
You encourage us to ask.
Yes, and I'm going to answer it. And you have your rebuttal period. You have your rebuttal
Well, he
period.
didn't actually see it.
So in any case, okay, Stubblebine, fine. He's this old retired general, I believe. He wasn't at the Pentagon. All he saw was pictures. So it's one man's opinion. So what do? We believe the general who wasn't there over all the firefighters who saw plane parts, who saw and witnesses who saw a plane go over.
Where are the plane parts?
There were
I'm
parts.
I'm sorry. What are these?
There was engines and things. Yeah.
What are these? Tell me what these
There
are.
were. The other guy said that.
What are these?
They delivered them.
They're not plane parts. What are they?
They delivered them by air truck.
Okay. Okay, let me put it this way. What would convince anyone that a plane went into the Pentagon?
Debris on the outside.
Watch it on video.
And that wasn't it?
Very little.
Findings of debris
There was an engine.
Okay, if there was a lot of debris,
Yeah.
so it would need to be more. So that would convince you if there's a lot more debris.
The wings don't show an entry hole.
That's because the wings are too weak to go through the concrete.
Then why aren't they on the outside?
There are. There's the facade which shows it. Where are we at?
I saw about a pickup truck load of stuff. But
Anyways, no, it doesn't show it. Okay, this is the thing. What you guys are doing, you're looking at summaries by people who write their opinions. You don't go to the source documents. Have you gone to the internet and looked up 100 different items? You haven't.
not
Because, no. You can see the damage to the facade, and you can see all kinds of debris. But it's not a quick looking through a book. You have to go to the source document. You can't just be the teenager in the basement in your pajamas going through the internet. Okay? Gotta do some work. Ted. May I call you Ted?
The photograph of the facade collapse?
Yeah.
Okay, that's after the quote-unquote impact.
Yes, that's right. It wasn't before the impact, was it?
The original photograph, okay,
Yeah.
was of a standing facade with no hole anywhere near big enough for a 757 to go in.
It depends how you measure it. No, the fuselage definitely was big enough to go in.
No, have you seen the those photographs of the standing
Yeah, I
facade?
saw it all, of course.
Okay, why don't you show that?
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah, show that sometime. There is no hole near big enough for a large plane to have gone through.
Right, so all these people who saw a plane go through don't count, okay.
Not that internal hole. That's internal.
The air control said that the plane crashed.
Yeah,
Where was the plane if that's not the plane?
you have to ask
This stuff-
Ted.
all
No,
this
but he said,
hoaxes.
ask Ted, I'm not into that
You're
stuff.
calling him 3 times already, you know, let it be fair.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying that the plane crashed,
Yeah.
and you got all the
Right.
parts of the plane. Where, if it didn't crash there, where did it crash?
Oh,
It didn't land.
Yeah, where was it?
Where did all those people die? Last time you said, oh, it was a
they
hoax,
died in
people
the,
died.
they died in the Pentagon, including
Right,
Barbara
right.
Olson, who was the wife of the director
It
of
was
the
a plane that
No,
crashed into the
Direct-
Pentagon.
who was
These
Ted
guys
Olson's wife?
saying it was a
In any
plane.
case,
We got 'em mixed up.
I'm sorry, did I?
No, I'm talking about these other guys.
Well, you have to talk to them afterwards. Okay, let's continue on. Anyway, so a lot of people wonder about videos that were confiscated by the FBI that that should have been released. And they mentioned the number of 85 videos. Okay. Anybody have any questions about the 85 videos? All right. Then there were only 2 of their list of 85 videos that actually showed an impact. And those were the parking lot security videos. Flight 93. Okay. Okay, so this departs Newark Airport. It's bound for San Francisco. Ends up in a field outside Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, excuse me. Piloted by Ziad Jarrah and 3 hijackers. This is some of the this is the impact crater, and they're of course digging through the crater, coming up with pieces. This of course is the engine, and then it was a. We'll go back a bit. That's the aircraft, United Airlines, and you can see by the paint scheme that it matches up. Going to New York City.
Wait,
Quick one.
supposedly,
Charlie, go ahead.
shoot first.
Charlie, quick answer question. Question, quick.
I heard that plane didn't go in there and was reported to have been flying over Champaign-Urbana, Illinois.
I don't know about that. I don't know. In any case, last time we did cover where one plane was thought to have landed in Cleveland. Maybe that's what you think of. It's the C
No,
Cleveland
I
Champaign.
know about
I have never
that
heard of
one.
that. But anyways, there was a suspected hijacking. It was, I think, flight 1989. Landed in Cleveland. Since it was a suspected hijacking, it taxied over to a secure area. Law enforcement came in and checked it out, but it was found not to be a hijacking. Ted.
Yeah, have you heard of the reports of people that came on the scene right after that quote-unquote crater appeared and
Said there wasn't anything to recover?
numerous people said there is no plane here,
Right.
period.
Okay.
So what happened to
There
the
wasn't a
plane?
plane, there's only pieces.
No, they said there are no plane pieces.
Okay,
There's
so,
no air crash here.
Fine.
There's no airplane crash here. How would
okay,
that
here,
be?
this is
There was actually a
interesting.
plane there.
See, this is what conspiracy theory people do, right? There's a mountain of evidence.
Where's the mountain?
There's 10,000s of pieces of evidence, right?
There's a couple of
But they
Quiet.
Ted, it is my time, let's behave. Right? You get your chance to rebut, don't you? Did we agree to these
All right,
rules?
very nice.
We are
Very
not
nice.
quiet.
Are you going to agree to the rules of order?
All right, continue on.
Okay, so anyways, you got this pile of mountain of evidence, right? Conspiracy theory people, they pull out this little shiny coin. Look at this shiny coin, this is it. So he's saying that there are people that came on the scene and didn't see anything. Okay, and there's 100 of people who saw things. Well, we don't believe them because they're government employees and they're paid off. Are you saying nobody saw any plane parts? Go ahead, Ted. Yes, no? People,
The people
yeah.
that came there right on the scene, they're like.
And all of them said they didn't see any plane parts.
Pretty much. I didn't see.
I know you
report.
didn't because
I
of
didn't
where
see a
you
report
go.
Of anybody saying they saw a plane fall.
Right. That's because you stick with only certain sources.
How do
You single
explain
source.
Anybody going there and not seeing a plane?
Because there wasn't. There's pieces and it didn't look like a
They said they
plane.
saw no plane pieces. How do you explain that?
I explain it because they didn't look around and that was their initial
You
thoughts.
didn't look around. How do you know they
That's,
didn't look around?
okay, that's enough.
How do you know they did?
In any case, see, he discounts 100 other people who saw plane debris. Well, gee, 3 people said they didn't see any plane
Where are
debris.
those 100
I'm going to
people?
believe those 3 people.
Who are those 100 people? Where's
You
the
can do a
list of
little
those 100
research
people?
on your own. I'm not going to spoon feed you everything. That's it. Yes, blonde
I
lady.
heard rumors that the plane was shot down, that it would.
Right, of
crash.
course there's rumors. Yeah, it didn't happen.
Okay,
Didn't
but
happen.
that would account for all the small little pieces of the site.
Okay, here's the-
rather than having big chunks of pieces.
No, it wouldn't be in, no, it wouldn't. It would be in large pieces over a large area.
If it was shot
Because,
down,
yeah, A missile's not going to blow things up into little pieces. It's going to be big pieces spread all over us. Not only that, let me answer, right? You want me to answer your
Just
question?
like these titanium
You want me-
veins, yeah.
You want me to answer your question?
Yeah, go ahead.
In fact, in any case, if it were a missile, you know what you'd have? You'd have debris where the missile impacted the plane, and the plane would go for miles before it went down. Anybody find any debris on the plane path before it went in the ground? Well, no, because you don't know of any, and there wasn't any. So it couldn't have been a missile for that reason. Not only that, there wasn't. In any case, Charlie, ask your...
I heard that plane exceeded the speed of sound conceivably.
I doubt it.
going,
No, I doubt it. Speed of sound is how many miles an hour?
600.
Didn't go that fast.
700.
Depends on altitude, but it's around, we can say,
736 roughly.
that sounds high. I'm thinking 600 range. In case, but then there's a difference between nautical mile and statute miles. But I'm thinking it's around the 600 range. Quick.
Yes, quick question. Has there ever been another incident where a plane crash has resulted in so little?
Yeah, of course there have. Oh yeah, Colorado Springs had one, the mountains and the Alps, a lot of others. The thing is, okay, jet engine mechanic, Air Force veteran, I understand this stuff. And yeah, it's obliterated. A high-speed impact into the ground, it's going to obliterate it. What they found with body remains, the coroner, he said he found, the biggest part of a body he found was, 5 vertebrae. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
This is what happens in a high-speed impact. Ted, real quick.
You mentioned just now the Alps. Are you talking about the German wings plane that went down?
Yes.
Okay, you should have been here at the presentation that I gave, and I showed numerous photographs of huge chunks of a plane, of that plane, identifiable, sitting there. Okay, there was plenty of debris, and
Yes.
there were plenty of bodies that were taken out.
Right, okay.
That contradicts what you said, which is that there's nothing left.
Did I say there's nothing left?
Yeah, that's what you said. After last-
Okay, nothing. I guess I shouldn't say nothing.
There was a
Real
whole
little
darn plane left, it was just smashed.
Yeah, okay. It wasn't going as fast and it didn't go straight
How
into
do
the
you know it was
ground.
going fast? It was going darn fast.
This was going fast.
It was plummeting.
Yeah, well, I thought, kind of went on the side of the mountain, but in any case, still,
Yeah,
that's...
relatively. When
real
you
quick.
say fast and real fast, are you talking about 200 miles an hour?
We're talking
500
about
miles an
the
hour?
500 range.
And that
400 or
makes a big
500
difference
range.
on whether the
Uh,
plane is going to be
the-
a big chunk when it hits the ground
Oh,
or
geez, yeah.
scattered?
The faster you go, the more, more kinetic energy.
That German
Momentum.
plane was going
That's
in
your,
that
that's
range.
your, thank
In that
you.
range.
You have a question?
Yeah, are you
Do you have a
familiar with
question?
the report? Yeah, are you familiar with the report of the German wings plane?
Yes.
Okay, then how do you not know that that plane was going several hundred miles an hour, 400 or 500 miles or whatever, it was plummeting toward the earth.
Okay, yeah, okay, I'll
So
grant you
that's
that.
the same,
I'll grant you
the
that.
Same speed.
as what's claimed
Okay,
for New
no.
York City.
Okay, difference is it was hard ground, mountain, rocky, and everything else, okay? So it was scattered over a large area. This went straight down into the ground, okay? So it went down about 15, 20 feet into the ground, so it was localized. So it wasn't spread out over a large area. No, I'll continue on. It was reported, by the way, that 95% of that plane was recovered. Now, the only explanation to contradict that is that everybody was lying. And that's what it always comes back to. Everybody's lying. Okay?
Well, they are. They are.
So, clear blue sky in New York City.
That's right.
Over to the left is the World Financial Center. Consisted of 5 buildings. World Trade Center, of course, towards the middle, consisted of these buildings. Building 1, North Tower. You can always remember Building 1 because of the big antenna and think of the number 1. That's the one that got hit. And then the other 7 buildings. World Financial Center consists of these buildings. It gets confusing on where they're talking about, what buildings are which. And then they have the Winter Garden Atrium, which is part of the World Financial Center. So the World Trade Center, 59 columns on a side. Each column was about 14 inches square. And then in the middle are the 47 core columns, a little heavier than the perimeter columns. So the building's going up. each of these panels, this is how the building went up. They're a set of 3 columns, 3-story in height. And they just bolt them together, back and forth, like this. The floor was constructed of a lightweight trusses. These bars are about 1 inch in diameter, supported the floors. Diagram. Over the floors then was put a corrugated steel platform, and then 4 inches of concrete were poured on top of it. It's not like concrete on your sidewalk. It was more lightweight because it didn't need to be strong or heavy, just to give it support and also flatness, firmness. And you'll see the trusses, they fit on these angle irons. This is the actual size bolts. They're 5/8 of an inch bolts. When the towers came down, this was the failure point. You'll see all of these are sheared away. Gone. The weight just sheared all these away.
So that's a weak point there.
That's the weak point. Also, bolts similar to this, each of the, you see on top, and then you have the cutout, the black dots. That's where you could put your hand in, and you could put the bolts in connecting each of those columns. Okay, so the failure point was in the angle irons, and in those bolts, when it tipped over, of course, just snapped off the bolts and sheared off the angle irons. You guys learning stuff? You can keep it on me.
That's why they have shear pins on snow blowers.
And that's right, shear pins, although I don't know they want that to fail like that. So you see how the trusses are hooked onto the angle irons, to the columns, the perimeter columns, and also the core columns. So World Trade Center then, 110 stories tall. North Tower, North Tower is 1,368 feet. South Tower, 1,362. North Tower, as we said, had the antenna. South Tower had the observation platform. The antenna made the total building height about 1,727 feet. North Tower was hit first by American Airlines 11. South Tower hit 15 minutes later, United Airlines 175. You can see it impacts the World Trade Center 1, then World Trade Center 2. So WTC 1 got hit first, 2 got hit second. You also see that there's other names. WTC 1 is also known as Tower A, or the North Tower. WTC 2, South Tower, Tower B. Thanks. You're very thoughtful. God, thanks. I forgot I had it. What is this, Roy? Congestion. Good. So this is the North Tower getting hit. Think that caused a little damage? Maybe a little interior structural damage?
Maybe.
It did. It did.
About the corners.
The bad thing about the North Tower is everybody above it perished. It was one trading floor was, I believe, Cantor Fitzgerald. They lost over 600 people. The South Tower gets hit. And that gets hit lower and also a higher speed. What does a higher speed do? Gives you more kinetic energy, causes more damage. Also, it hit at an angle and hit more in the corner.
More inertia too.
Yes, very good. So the impact floors. North Tower got hit between the 94th and 98th floors. South Tower between the 78th and 84th. All right, so this is what I'm reading now are first responders. That one? Yeah. These are people who got the call and are going to the World Trade Center. EMT, Alexander Lutsky. I said, look at that plane. That is flying extremely low. And then it looked like it was about to hit. A few seconds later, it did hit. Firefighter Thomas Lynn. We basically saw a lot of body parts and plane wreckage that was just all over the street. What you're looking at here, of course, is plane wreckage all over the place. Parts of the building all over the place. You know what these little red pieces are? You know what those red pieces are?
Thermite.
Those are body parts.
Body part?
Those are body, all those red things, they're body parts were everywhere.
Yeah.
Body parts. EMS Captain Karen DeShore, at the beginning of the 59th Street Bridge, the second airliner hit, and we witnessed it. I was told later on we had granulated cement and jet fuel mixture all over our uniforms and our bodies. EMS Roland Diaz Jr., we were at the Bruckner Exchange when I saw the second plane hit the second tower. Firefighter Lieutenant Joseph Chiaffrey, we heard the roar of a jet engine. Yes, it was a plane. You saw it actually piercing the wall of the building. You could see some airplane parts, which were definitely very visible and identifiable. At that point, you could see body remains not fully intact, of course. They looked like hunks of meat, just lying on the sidewalk and roadway itself. Lieutenant Bruce Medjuk, EMS. Just as we came out of the bridge, we could see you again. Oh, whatever. The towers also, with the plane came in, slammed Tower 2. Over the department radio was broadcast, prepare for impact, a second plane is approaching the building. Another person said we were confronted with a lot of debris in the street, airplane debris, human remains and such. We swerved around debris from the planes, body parts pretty much everywhere. We heard the roar of a jet engine. I heard the jet engine again. We saw a landing gear fall through the roof into the... there are a lot of firefighters. They staged at the Marriott Hotel. A lot of them went to Marriott. Firefighters said they saw a landing gear part fall through the roof into the jacuzzi in the Marriott. The battalion chief, Dominic DeRubio. I knew they were airplane parts. You could see gears and pieces of airplane. Yes?
There are so many plane parts at the World Trade Center at the bottom there. How come you have no, and I've never seen any photographs except for like literally...
Good question. Thank you very much. Got it. Got it.
Of planted pieces.
Got it. The reason you don't see a lot of pictures of debris is when the towers came down, not long afterward, they covered everything. That was it. There's just dust and...
Before the towers came down?
There weren't a lot of pictures before. You knew if it was after because it'd be dust and paper everywhere.
You wouldn't see it.
It went for, you remember the dust clouds that went for blocks. So anyways, all the debris and everything was covered by the dust and the debris. So there weren't a lot of pictures that showed this stuff. Ted, quick.
Have you heard of reports of people who were literally looking up at the towers?
Yeah.
And they saw an explosion. But no
Yep, we'll cover it later. No problem. This is the other thing conspiracy theories do. Like I said, it's got this pile and mountain of evidence. Oh, I like the look of this penny. Here's a nice shiny nickel. And they throw away everything else. So he's going to say, I heard 3 people that said this. Okay, what about the 200 people that said that? No, only the people who said this. And what I agree with, I'll believe. And that's what they do. So, asking how much a plane with fuel and passengers and cargo weigh, they estimate about 280,000 pounds. 280,000 pounds. Planes going over 400 miles an hour, it's going through the tower, which they did, obviously. Also, you have to understand the planes were filled with fuel.
But that's like a freight train.
Nice empty aluminum can. I can throw this at somebody, won't bother them a bit. How about if it's a full can of soda? You want me to hit you in the head with it? There's a lot more energy and kinetic energy in a plane, in a wing full of fuel than not. Another evidence of the plane hitting the Pentagon is there was jet fuel everywhere. the smell of it, the burning of it, and it flew all over it.
Question,
Quick,
what temperature does steel melt?
what, 2750?
And what temperature does airplane fuel burn?
Depends. You can get to burn all kinds of temperatures depending
It's
on
around 600, isn't it?
centigrade. We're confusing centigrade and Fahrenheit. We want to talk centigrade or Fahrenheit?
I don't know.
I know, you don't know, I know. Anyways, we're talking Fahrenheit.
Question, at what temperature does metal get soft?
About half, a third it starts
900
softening.
degrees.
So anyways, to answer your question, oh yeah, the fires were plenty of hot to soften the steel to melt. No, they
They
didn't melt.
sag. They sag.
Steel, you don't,
It
do you
would
re-
sag,
yes,
right?
exactly right.
It wouldn't implode. It would
Right.
sag.
The
And then-
steel didn't implode, the building imploded, yes.
If-
We're having a
if it
discussion, we're not gonna do that.
imploded,
We'll talk about later and you have your time
Well,
to
when it
answer.
sags. it
So
breaks the
anyways,
bolts
yeah.
At the edge.
Next, let's run through this.
What do you think happened at the prison?
Okay,
down there?
plane, good. Yeah, keep it on me, I don't care about that.
You don't know that?
All right, so here's the hole. With this kind of damage, you're talking, okay. You know what
This
a,
one where the woman is standing there.
Yeah, right.
After it burned
right,
out,
right.
and the building is still standing.
It's a big building.
I mean, there's a person in that picture.
Yeah, and there's no fire there. It's a big building.
Okay. And
It's
then
on
so
the other
what-
side.
What made it collapse after that point?
We'll get to that.
Very little
I mean,
fire.
you know.
Yeah, we'll get
Just a
to
little
it.
bit.
Okay. So yeah, the holes in the building, blacksmiths. You know what they do? They don't have a constant temperature of fire. You know that? They get it hotter. How do they get it hotter? By ingesting air, bellows. So fire, kerosene, office fires, all that stuff, do not have a constant temperature. You say an office fire is only this temperature. Wrong-o. Depends what's feeding it and how much oxygen is getting to it. There's a big old, this is like a blast furnace. Oxygen's coming in, fueling the fire, it's making it hotter. What?
If it was hotter, it wouldn't be a black flame, a black smoke. Black smoke
Whatever.
is-
Have you seen tires or oil fires?
Yeah, it's
They're in the
incomplete
open and they're
combustion.
black. So that
Incomplete
means
combustion.
they're cold
Mixture.
fires.
Because
In any case, that's another thing. You see different pictures of the towers and the flames. Some places it's black, some places it's white, some places it's gray. Depends on the time of the fire and depends on where the picture was
But
taken.
the person in this picture lived.
No way.
She's the one that was in this picture?
There's no way.
Where are in the picture? Where's Waldo in this picture?
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
So anyways, there's fire.
Cool
Like a little fire?
Black smoke, cool fire.
Is that black smoke? Don't look black to me.
Not there,
What
right?
color is that? Yeah. Not black smoke, is it?
It's not, a hot
What?
fire would be very little smoke, like a jet fuel. When it's burning properly, there's no fuel.
If it's burning properly,
Right.
it's made to. Open fires, that's silly. You can't always, that is only one evidence of temperature of a fire. It doesn't always, it's not a hard and fast rule.
I'm a torch.
But it doesn't matter because there's a big fire and it was hot enough. A little bit of fire.
Small fire. Compared to
Small
China or
fire, yeah, small
Brazil,
fire.
the towering infernos in these other countries, they don't burn, buildings don't
Right,
fall in these
small
other
fire.
countries.
Fire was so hot.
Small fire.
Okay, building comes down. This is South Tower. I'm going to have my person here. People think that people act like this is a solid building and you can't collapse the greater part with the smaller part. Yeah, if it was two solid things, that's probably true. The thing was hollow. It's a hollow building and it's kinked. Now, aluminum can. I used to be able to stand on these, but I got too heavy and it no longer can. Okay, we're gonna do 3 of them, okay?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, excuse me, please.
Go ahead, Stan.
Let's move it out more.
Excuse me, please.
Gotta be here.
Go for it.
Go stand on it.
You can't tell.
Just
what
stand there.
fire is by
Okay,
this.
this is a aluminum can. Let's try number 2. There you go. Okay.
You got it right. Step lighter.
Think these are things that are very strong?
Not so heavy.
Very strong? Okay. Okay, try one more. Very careful. Okay. Okay. Anyways. No, that's okay. Anyways, yeah, I used to be able to stand on moving cans all the time. I don't know if they got thinner or if I got heavier. So you can stand it, I can stand on it pretty much indefinitely. And then how you collapse it, you reach down and kink the sides. The building got kinked. Once it got kinked, it's going down. A lot of people think it would tip over. Like, oh, it should have tipped over. Once again, a misunderstanding of physics. It can't tip over because it's a hollow shell. The edge is not strong enough to support it, so it's going to collapse. If it was solid, yeah, it tipped, but it's hollow. It's not strong enough to support it. Okay, so then it rights itself, comes straight down. So it's South Tower. South Tower comes first. Why South Tower comes first? Because it was hit at an angle, took out more of the corner, which caused it to tip in that direction.
Sorry, guys, I gotta work.
And also the extra kinetic energy by going, about 590? It was going a lot faster than the one that hit the North Tower anyway. So then, so that collapses at 9:59. 9:28, North Tower comes down. Now, you guys talk about controlled demolition and everything else. Doesn't look like controlled demolition. Controlled demolition, the building collapses inside and down. It doesn't go like that. Look at controlled demolition. Quick.
Can I just ask
No, you can ask a
to
question.
not say you guys? If one person says something, you guys didn't say it.
Who cares? Come on.
Undecideds are in this room, and
Yeah,
we'd
but
like
question-
to be labeled one or the other.
Then let's say that.
That was it?
Yeah, that's pretty important, isn't it?
No.
No, you have a rebuttal period, but thanks. Yes.
He knows what I'm saying. He knows what I'm saying.
Yes, please, Ted.
When people say controlled demolition.
Have you ever worked at a construction?
Hey, come on, no. My time. Please, my time.
Speak up,
When
please.
observers talk about controlled demolition, they're not
Yes.
necessarily talking about the classical controlled demolition
Right.
you see at.
You have a question? You have a rebuttal period. Did you have a question?
Does that look to you like a building being coming down on its own, or like a
No, to me
building
it
being
does.
destroyed? blown
It does
up?
to me. Oh, yeah,
What does it
absolutely.
look like?
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. Coming down on its own, absolutely. Yeah.
I didn't hear you. What does it look
Absolutely,
like?
yes, it looks like it's coming down on its own.
It
Yes,
does.
that's gravity
Hold
fed.
on.
It's gravity fed. Yes, I answer your question, Ted.
Can we vote?
Yes, it does. And what's happening, you know what's 80% of a building? Air.
Yeah.
Each floor is about the space of an acre. That air, and each story was about 13 feet high. That air's got to go somewhere. It's pancaking down. It's like a pile driver. It is blowing out the sides. The firemen who were close to this got blown away. It was like a hurricane-force wind because the air was so great. They're outside the building and got thrown like 30 feet from the air. It's like a hurricane. Quick question.
Do you have any pictures of Building 7 blowing
Yes.
up?
No, going
Why
down,
not?
no.
Why not? Because it
Doesn't
wasn't hit
matter.
by a plane?
Doesn't matter. No, hold on.
Burned all day.
Okay, so you can see here people talking about nearly free fall speed. It was at the most 2/3 of free fall speed. You think 2/3 is nearly? Okay, in your world. You can see these columns down at the bottom. They're like 40 stories below where it's collapsing. So obviously free fall is way down there. So it was a long ways from free fall speed. This is WTC 7.
Wow.
It's king. You see it in the right down at the bottom. WTC 7, right there.
Yeah.
See it being showered?
Yeah.
You don't?
I see
Anybody
some-
else see it get showered?
Yeah, somebody.
Okay, other people are seeing it. You can come closer if you want me to point it out.
Is that enough to cause WTC 7 to fall over?
Do you know how long it was burning?
There has never
You know
been-
all this stuff, right? How long was it burning?
There's
Now, how long was it
had
burning?
scattered fires and there
Right.
wasn't
How long
a-
was it burning?
8 hours.
5.
Yeah, but it was maybe
7 hours.
2 or 3 places.
7 hours.
So
No,
what
that's not
caused
true.
it
It's
to
not true.
collapse?
Like I said, conspiracy theory people, They only single source information. You can look all up. See, you don't care about, sounds like I'm insulting you. If you cared about this, you wouldn't single source. You would look at other things and you could see how extensive the fires were. They were extensive. See, you're shaking your head because you don't know. I got a book, by the way, I can show you. I'll show it to you later. Yeah, it's extensive fires. 7 hours. Ted, go ahead.
Have you heard of Judy Wood's?
Yeah, she's insane.
That's
Yeah, I did. No, any other questions?
yeah.
Question?
You didn't even let me ask the question.
Yes, you did. You said, do I know Judy Woods? And I answered
Finish the
you.
question.
You got a second question?
No, I have one question.
She's insane.
No. Do you know of Judy Wood's
She's insane.
theory of lathering?
She's insane. Anything else?
Lathering. Have you heard of the lathering business?
No, it sounds fascinating. I look forward to your next presentation. Okay, so anyways.
I have a lot to learn, by the way.
Yeah, right. In any case, this is part of the inside of the World Trade Center. This is what remained. What you're looking at is 4 stories. Each story was 13 feet high. This is 4 stories of the World Trade Center in the space of 4 feet. People wondering where the black boxes are? People wondering where 1,400, it's either 11 or 1,400 victims they never found were? It was compressed so much you won't believe it. 1,100 victims.
Where is that now? Is that,
I think they put it in the museum.
that is
I think it did. Next, okay. This is the indestructible, huge, heavy core columns. Thing is, steel, like anybody got a straw? Let me get a straw.
Right here.
Okay, straw. These things are strong. You can put this pretty much through your hand. But you kink it, it becomes very weak. Steel's nice, a lot of strength in the upright. You kink it, it's going down. There isn't any doubt that the temperature was well strong enough, high enough, to weaken the steel. And once it gave out, it's coming down. And also, it's not just the fire, of course. You have all the damage caused by the impact of the plane. Tremendous damage. The buildings were going down. They knew it was coming down. In fact, there's a helicopter, there's a police helicopter going around, and minutes before the building, Tower 1 came down, they're saying, hey, building's starting to move. Hey, the building's coming down. Just before the building collapsed, somebody from the engineering office in New York City, they ran to the police chief, Gansey, who died in the collapse. He, anyways, ran to the chief and said, hey, building's going to collapse. You guys got to get everybody out. Plane parts. Okay, so yeah, it just bent. And then, of course, the debris. World Trade Center site was 16 acres. The debris covered the entire 16 acres and beyond. So to say it was a controlled demolition, it's the sloppiest one I've ever seen. There's stuff all over the place. These are a few plane parts. Here's seat belts from a plane. These were found. Ted, look at the plane parts. Okay, don't let you miss them. These are plane parts found around the World Trade Center. Like I said, most of them were covered in dust and debris. So these pictures were pre-collapse. And also some of, that says Boeing on there. Some of them were picked up and put in the museum. So this one here is fascinating. This is a wheel you can see, landing wheel. This is one of those perimeter sets, 3-column sets. You can see a wheel took it out, landed on the ground. Then, of course, it was covered up in debris with a collapse. And some people said that was planted.
It was
right?
planted there, but yeah.
Okay, that was planted.
Guys delivered it.
This person here, I believe he's looking at part of a body. Then what the police, FBI, and firefighters did, they gathered up all the aircraft debris, they put them in bins, everything they found. Most of it is probably still was part of the building when it, you know. And then it went to Fresh Kills, the landfill site, and they went through all the debris again and gathered up more aircraft debris. So yeah, whatever. Fatalities, there you go. Pentagon evidence, you got all this stuff, right? So I asked then, if I can ask you, Ted, if you'd answer. What do you make of all the hundreds of witnesses who saw a plane going to the Pentagon?
There's actually a real good video done by somebody, I forget, but they showed that there was a flyby.
Right.
Of an actual.
What's your answer?
Ordinary plane.
They saw-
So a lot of people saw a flyby.
Right. So they saw a different plane.
Huh?
So they saw a different plane?
Yeah.
Okay, they saw a different plane. So the airline pilot who said it was 757, the fireman who was on the Pentagon grounds and saw a 757 fly right by him and impact the Pentagon.
That was a
We
complex-
discount
That
them.
was a complex operation at the.
Okay,
that was
fine.
the military-
So they're lying.
U.S. military. with
We got it,
millions
they're all
of
lying.
dollars.
We got it, they're all lying. Am I wrong? They're lying, right?
You have to tell me exactly who you're talking about.
Anybody who saw a 757 hit the Pentagon, were they lying? Or they just are too stupid? Either way.
I'd have to see the exact quote by the exact
Okay.
person.
Okay, now all the firemen who saw planes going to the World Trade Center, how do you account for that?
Excuse me,
All the firefighters, EMT, emergency personnel who saw planes going into the World Trade Center, how do you account for that?
You can pay a lot of people to say
Okay,
anything.
fine, cool, they got paid
Drums,
to
I
answer.
think they're drums.
So all the evidence of Flight 93, you can discount all this. They identified most of the passengers on the Pentagon and Flight 93. World Trade Center is a lot harder since a lot will probably remain
What's the
inside.
martyr
What's the
video?
difference?
What's the martyr
Of?
video?
That means the hijackers, they made a video for Allah, we're dying, we're going to martyr ourselves. They made videos.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, you can find them online, they're there.
Beforehand.
Yeah, not after. Okay, would you show that video real quick? It's number 3.
Okay.
Got a video. Everybody likes movies, right? Movie time.
See the martyrs.
Movie time.
Quick question?
Quick question. Questions? Go ahead.
I appreciate what you're saying, but on the outline of the plane hitting both either building 1 or 2 is very distinct, an outline.
Right.
But on the Pentagon, there's no
Right.
outline of that, just a solid.
Right,
pole.
why is that?
Why is that?
Where the
Were those
building's made-
titanium jets, engines smack into that
Did you want to
concrete?
hear my answer?
Yes,
Where the building's made out of different material.
yes.
Thank you.
No evidence of any scratch.
You don't know what the buildings were made out of?
Well, they're concrete and steel. And glass.
Which were? Which?
The Pentagon was reinforced concrete.
Yes.
The buildings were steel and glass and concrete.
No, no concrete.
Floors were concrete.
Okay, the floors,
What about the
but you talking about the holes in the building where
What about the elevator
it went through the
shafts?
columns. They were covered with sheetrock.
That's not building code, it has to be concrete. Concrete floors.
Okay.
It's not sheetrock.
Really? You can show me, you can show me a reference that said it was concrete, right?
I work for an elevator.
You can show me a reference that says it was,
You know what, my position is that the.
that you're
elevator
saying
shafts
things that you
are
were saying is
concrete.
fact. Show me a reference that says it was
Show me
concrete.
that
Okay,
they're
we're
not.
ready
can't.
we're ready with your DVD.
Yeah, show it. Okay, DVD. go ahead.
I think, yeah, get that.
Okay, here you go. This is some information, very useful. So that's the crater dimensions, 20 feet wide, 15 feet deep. And that didn't include the wings. Big smoking crater. Aircraft parts. That's an insulation. That looks like an engine mounting bolt. I used to work on those.
Noise coming from it, but the engines were running. I then saw the plane coming down at almost a 90-degree angle, maybe an 80-degree angle, and the next thing I saw was a big fireball of smoke.
When it come down over top of me, I seen it go and nosedive straight into the ground down here. We heard this noise in the sky. My friend and I looked up and said, "What's that?" And just going over, basically over the horizon of the hill, was this plane. It was completely upside down. That's what it was. The tail fin was down, and it was going in at a sharp ascent, probably more than a 45-degree angle, closer to a 90.
This is fascinating.
Come on up and explain it.
You guys seen this video? Who's seen this video? No. Why haven't you seen this video if you research the stuff?
I've seen it. Okay, there's one.
Yeah, it's a cartoon. Just watch away. Trust me. Have I lied to you before?
I've seen it.
Those are some pretty awesome wings there.
Yeah.
They are awesome wings. Those are lightweight aluminum poles. You don't think a plane going 500 miles an hour, 480, is going to take out a light pole? They're made to be breakaway anyway for traffic safety reasons.
How many poles was that?
5. We're going to see
And it
5.
didn't make
There's
it
right
down the
there. See that?
wings?
How'd they get broken off?
It didn't deflect the wings at all?
It's going 500 miles an hour. 500 miles an hour. You ain't going to stop it.
Get your comments in the mic if you could, please.
500 miles an hour, you're not going to deflect or stop. It's going in straight.
So explain to us what's happening now on the video.
Number 5.
So how do we account for those light poles breaking off? You got an answer, Ted?
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Are you familiar with Newton's third law of motion?
Is that equal and opposite reaction or something else?
No, that's pretty close.
For every action, there's an equal and opposite
When the
reaction.
wings hit the poles are hitting the wings equally with the same force.
Okay.
Those poles are going to cause some major damage to those wings.
Yeah, they probably did. They probably
That
did.
doesn't show in the video. That video shows these wings.
It's a cartoon, Ted!
It is a cartoon.
Get into
It was a
reality.
cartoon.
Wake up to reality.
It's not relevant.
Yeah, there's
You know?
there's
Other people
turbulence
enjoy
with the
it, okay?
ground that airplanes.
Okay, here you go.
That airplane couldn't fly.
You
at
see that?
level.
That's probably smoke coming off the engine, right there. So yeah, it caused damage, oh yeah. But it's still going in.
Where's the plane? Where's the plane?
It's
I
that
don't see a
smoke.
plane there. Who
I
says-
know
who
you
sees
don't.
the plane there?
I know you don't.
There it is.
Witnesses saw the plane, Ted. You did
There's a
it.
video of the plane. You're showing us a
This
video.
is a
That
cartoon.
video shows no plane. Where's the plane in that video?
You know, I believe Australia's there because other people have been there, even though I haven't.
You're showing us a video. They're supposed to show a plane. Where is the plane in that video?
It's the next video.
They're gonna
Watch the next video.
Bill, I read that you couldn't have a plane that low. That the
Yeah.
air would stop.
Talk
it.
to a pilot.
Plane
Talk to a
is
pilot.
in that video. You're saying. You're claiming.
The plane
No,
doesn't
not this
fly
one,
Is
the
this a
next
real
one.
plane or is this a cartoon
Next one.
plane?
Watch the next video. Watch the next video.
Is this cartoon?
Watch the next video. Be nice. Anyways, you see facade damage. Did that show that? I don't know if it showed it.
Look at that.
This is a, okay.
Wow, man.
Right here, there's facade
Wow.
damage.
That proves it. Yep. Cartoon physics.
Well, that proves it. Go ahead, use the
Anybody
mic.
believe that?
There's a lot of evidence after the fact that people saw. Here's the evidence. Here's the pictures of the evidence. Went through the generator and the fence.
Bill, that's not evidence. That's a cartoon.
It's a cartoon.
See the generator? See the fence? It blew through that fence.
Where's
The
the
engine,
plane in the real shot?
right here, that's where the engine impacted.
I don't see a plane.
Yeah, it was cartoon. Where's the real?
The plane was destroyed, Ted.
Completely?
Yeah, right.
Before the impact?
Where's the plane, really?
There,
It's like cartoon. It was
inside the
cartoon.
building.
Those shots are not in context. Those shots can be taken anywhere by anybody.
Anyway,
They're not
they
in
took
context.
that out at airplanes number 9.
Ted, you'll have to find me these witnesses who lied. Show me these people who lied and said, no, there wasn't anything there.
In the middle.
You took those
Where's
photos
the?
at
Where?
The guys that flew were incredibly good at it,
Yeah.
to make it fly at that height.
After 15 years, who has come forward and said, yeah, it was a big lie? Got one? They kept this secret through hundreds, he said, it was very complex, a lot of moving parts, and nobody has come forward to blow the whistle on this big conspiracy. 15 years.
They're all dead.
Okay, this is one of the most fascinating videos I've ever seen. This shows the plane. You'll say, that's not a plane, that's whatever. It's the best they've got. I believe it. I can see it.
What's this typical gas?
This is that fisheye one, right?
No, this is from the security camera on the parking lot security camera.
The government didn't confiscate?
It's right there.
There's a 757 there?
That's a 757.
Show us
That's a
exactly.
757.
Show us exactly.
I saw it on YouTube.
Where is the 757 there?
Well, it's going to show it to you, Ted. Okay? You may not. You're not going to believe it, but it doesn't matter. This is actually misleading. I'll show you why.
You didn't tell me the Pentagon can't afford a decent camera?
I'll bet if they have decent cameras, they're not going to let the world know they have them. They're not going to give up all their secrets. This is a little misleading because it shows a profile when actually the plane went in more at an angle. So the perspective's a little off. But still, what else is it? You tell me what else that is.
What are you showing us? Where is the
What
plane?
is? Tell me what that is.
I don't know. It's a bus. It's a bunch of bus.
Looks like a
Where is the
Cessna.
plane?
What else is it? It was in one frame. What is it?
Cessna.
A duck.
Wile E. Coyote?
It's going the wrong direction.
Looks like a plane to me.
There it
Oh,
is.
no.
Oh, that's proof.
It doesn't matter. You're not going to believe anything. It doesn't matter, Ted. If we showed photographs or video of it, you would say, oh, it's been doctored. Isn't that true? It doesn't matter, Ted. You're not going to believe it anyway.
What's that white?
Okay, here's the guy I said was a moron. This is Richard Gage. Oh, sorry.
In the building. So it's not some massive fuel.
Talking
that
about
can,
kerosene.
Melt steel.
Does fire melt steel? Gee.
Ensure that the beam was scaled to match the design load of the steel. This beam is then placed over the fire. The jet fuel is calculated to burn for 30 minutes. Will the metal maintain its structural integrity?
What color is this?
There's no concrete on that beam.
There wasn't in the World Trade Center either. It was spray-on foam insulation. I'm sorry, you have a reference you can show me, right?
The floors on the World Trade Center were
That's not
concrete
the
on top of-
floor.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not an accurate representation of what happened.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see what happens.
In 2 minutes, the thermocoupler temperature
2 minutes.
is just above 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's just jet fuel, which is, of course, isn't very hot. And it's black smoke, which isn't very hot. It's not very hot. In 3.5 minutes, what happens?
It's like it's sagging.
Oh, it's going to come down.
Sag, yeah.
So less than 4 minutes, that jet fuel, which doesn't get very hot and have that black smoke, did that to steel beam. It didn't happen?
What was the size of that beam?
It didn't happen.
What was the size of the beam?
I've got it. I can't remember. It doesn't matter.
Don't you think?
They scaled it for the experiment. But it doesn't matter, Ted. You're not going to believe anything anyway, so what's it matter?
This experiment concludes that exposed steel heated by jet fuel will commence to lose its strength far below its 2,600 degree
Of course it
Fahrenheit melting point.
Okay, next is a blacksmith. Listen to blacksmith.
She did say exposed steel,
Yeah, it was exposed. Oh, yeah.
but the World Trade Center floors were not exposed.
Okay, listen. Can you see here? He says it's over 3,000 degrees. 3,000 degrees.
There's no concrete.
It's just air, right? I mean, how to get the air made it hot.
The CIA was there.
Okay, now listen. Very sharp. Controlled demolition will give you very sharp, pow, explosions. There wasn't that at the World Trade Center.
I have depositions from firefighters.
who heard explosions. Of course they did. It's all kinds of
Lots
things.
of them.
Now they're looking for evidence of controlled demolition. And they find wiring. None of that was found in the World Trade Center. There wasn't any evidence. There wasn't any evidence.
Well, they don't have to hide it there, but they do in the train station.
So everybody hit it. The FBI, all the firefighters, all the police, everybody.
No, melted upon
Amertek designed a
demolition.
rocket sled experiment to test the difference between a projectile impact.
How many would you need?
You would need it.
How many would you need? And it's all going to fire off at the same time, accurate enough to do it. It's nuts.
5 seconds.
This is like the Pentagon, a plane going to the Pentagon. That's what the experiment is. To show you, like the Pentagon, how this aluminum tube went through.
And it's about the size of our projectile.
Now we're going to listen to
The results of this test show what the impact looks like. The structure is basically intact
David Ray
with a
Griffin.
penetration hole the approximate size of the projectile.
Now we're going to listen to David Ray Griffin. Okay, see that? That's the wing. You wonder where the
The facade is damaged.
damage from the plane was?
Essentially match the dimensions of a
There he
Maybe on
is.
the outside.
What are you saying? He didn't, there was. They were picking it up.
Is it relevant?
What do you think the building did?
Oh, the outer hole.
Oh, listen to this. This is lovely.
Well, possibly. I mean, it's one theory, yeah.
What's the other theory?
Well, the first, there have been lots of theories, and I don't think we probably need to go into that.
No, we don't want to go into that.
Now, we're going to talk about.
Here's
how
the
to
genius,
slow this thing down.
Richard Gage. This guy's a genius.
I have a 95-story building. I have two 15-story buildings that I'm going to drop. I'm holding them up. I'm going to drop them at the same time. This is going to show that we have what amounts as a virtual free fall speed, unimpeded, as I'm dropping the 15-story building over nothing at all on one side and over a 95-story building on the other. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh my God! The one that has no resistance under it falls at free fall speed. What happens over here? The one that has 80,000 tons of structural steel on it. It doesn't even give. It resists. It is met by an equal and opposite reaction known as the conservation of momentum. It doesn't fall. You can see these technical papers on our website, 911truth.org, and it is incredible. It shows that
This is incredibly invalid.
never have collapsed.
Okay, here's static versus dynamic, okay? Why the buildings collapsed. He's dropping a nickel, okay? So the nickel dropped from 2 inches, 12 times its weight. Yeah, this is it. This is the last one. Anyway, so this explains dynamic force as opposed to static. Okay, so Richard Gage, he's your leader of architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. You talk about the laws of physics and Newton's law and all that stuff. Yeah, it's valid. It's valid for, I suppose, things which are coming at each other like this, but you're discounting gravity, which has more force, and gravity, and also a hollow building. So it's not a solid object hitting another solid object. It's this heavy piece of building coming down on a hollow object, and it's going to collapse it. Besides, with dynamic force, it's going to be like 12 times the weight as it would be static anyway. Go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, I didn't see a refutation of what Gage showed with that demonstration. When he drops a block,
Yes.
on a larger block, what he's showing is that there's a force from the lower block.
And that's silly.
And that's going to
That's
slow.
silly.
Silly?
It's silly.
That's going to slow down.
Yeah, it did slow it down. It did slow it
It's not
down.
going to come
What
down
was it?
at anywhere near free fall speed. I mean,
That's right, it was 2/3.
No,
You're right,
it's
it's
not going to come
2/3.
down at anywhere
2/3.
near free fall speed.
That's your
It's gonna be-
opinion.
no,
That's
it's
your
not
opinion,
your
his opinion. It's your opinion, his
That's
opinion.
real physics. You haven't shown us contrary.
Show me those other physicists who agree with Richard Gage. I'm looking forward to hearing the other physicists who agree with Richard Gage, if it's so obvious.
Plenty of them do it. You haven't
You don't have any references on you, do you? No, of course.
Well, how many stories on each side tell?
Real
That was
quick.
pretty heavy, right?
All right,
Yes.
when we
that
wrap
one-
up.
Okay, anything
Why
else?
didn't get an answer?
All right, I'd like to wrap up the
That's-
formal presentation. We're gonna have maybe 15 minutes of questions and answers because I wanna get plenty of time for rebuttals tonight.
All right.
Let's thank again our speaker for an excellent presentation tonight. Come on, guys, give it
Come on,
up.
give it up, Ted. Come on, Winston, give it up, Winston.
All right.
He doesn't
Now-
want to tell the truth. He's afraid of it.
Let people who have not had a question yet, let's get up. Come on up, stand up, identify yourself.
Are you
And-
familiar with the project for the New American Century?
We're gonna use a mic.
Sure, the Jews and Crystal, right?
Here we go. You reveal yourself.
This is the interesting thing. Okay, fine, I answered your question, now thank you.
That wasn't my question, though.
You-
I
can
was
you
just
ask a
asking if
question?
you're familiar for
Yeah,
background.
he asked a
It'll
question.
be less
Now
than
I'm
20
gonna-
seconds
now I'm
if you
gonna
just let me
answer-
finish.
No, I'm gonna answer the question.
That wasn't my question.
You asked
Okay,
the
you're
question.
familiar with Project
Why don't
for
you
New
let me
Mexico, so
answer-
my question
No,
is-
No.
My question
Let me
is,
answer the question.
are the policies that resulted from this event not devastating to we the American people's budgets, health, and overall democracy? That's
Yeah.
my question.
Yeah,
Less than
sure,
20
it's
seconds.
terrible. Go ahead. So anyways, it's completely irrelevant, of course. Completely irrelevant. This is the thing about conspiracy theorists. We saw Ted's presentation last week. Did he cover one conspiracy? Well, what did he cover? Two? Kind of ran out of time.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he's got like, what, 6 you were going to present? He's got all these, see, conspiracy theory people, they don't start out with this.
Maybe you could just address the
There's conspiracy,
question.
I'm addressing you. If that's not your only conspiracy, how many conspiracies do you
Didn't mention
believe
any
in?
conspiracies.
JFK, how
I
many
didn't mention
do
any
you,
conspiracies.
how many do you believe
I
in?
didn't mention any
How many do
conspiracies
you,
in my
you don't want to
question.
admit it. He doesn't want to
No,
admit it.
no,
That's
we're
fine.
not
You're
afraid.
shy.
Point of your
I understand you're
I didn't
shy.
mention any
So,
conspiracies.
Next
so anyways, all I'm saying is conspiracy
All right,
theories,
no
it's not, this isn't the
personal
first
All
one.
right.
Play
Everything's a
nice now,
conspiracy.
Cameron.
I
Okay,
didn't ask about any conspiracies.
All right, we know you
Ask
did.
about the impact
He
on
doesn't.
all right.
I said it was a big
In
impact.
the back here,
It's
get up,
irrelevant
stand
to
up.
this.
All right,
And
it didn't happen.
and say your
Okay,
question
non-answer.
loud. Please,
You
so we can
you are
get you on
considered-
tape.
on, you asked about Ted Olson.
Ted Olson.
He was the,
Solicitor General of the United States. Yes, thank you. Barbara Olson, his wife. Thank you. You're adding that. You're awesome. You're a genius. You must be a truck driver to have that much knowledge. Truck drivers are the most intelligent people because they read a lot.
All right.
I used to do that, by the way. Please.
Are you aware that prior to the event that there were heavy placement of put options on the airlines?
Yeah, of course. It was not unusual.
And why, what do
Yes.
you mean it was not unusual?
It was.
It's normal to have heavy loading of put
There's a lot
options?
of right, absolutely. There was because the airliners were losing money,
Oh,
and
come-
because
no, wait,
they
look,
were.
I trade options, and you know when you have a
See,
normal.
this is
volume-
interesting.
Now listen,
See,
you
I
have
don't
a
believe
nor-
anything.
Let
It
me
doesn't matter.
finish.
It
You
doesn't
have a
matter what I
normal-
say. You're not going to believe it.
Let me finish.
You had a question? You have a rebuttal time.
I'm
It
saying,
is
I'm saying
requested
She
that
told
they-
us she worked in an elevator company. Now
Yeah,
she's
but then
selling
I did
options.
this
Okay.
afterwards.
Can we hear her, please?
Okay, well, you have a normal level of options on a particular stock, or, you know, buy,
Is
sell
this a
all the
question?
time. I'm getting to it. When you have exceptional volume on a particular option, it's usually in advance of some knowledge that is not of.
Now,
What's the question?
what's the
The
question?
question is, you do agree that there were heavy placement of put options before
Do you have
this
a
event,
question?
and it was not normal. Why
Have I heard a
why didn't the government track who placed the options?
It was investigated, found to be without merit. Yeah, there's a lot of put options on air. It doesn't matter what I say because you're not going to believe it anyway.
Why didn't they at least report it?
Yeah, they did. Any case, so the put options, right? People got rid of shares of airline stock. There's a newsletter coming out that airlines were losing money, and they were losing money at the time. So yeah, there's a lot of trading of airline stock going down. Okay.
Next gentleman behind you, Paul.
Okay.
Yes, you.
The FBI reported there were 250 terrorist threats by July 2011, just for that 7-month period. Why didn't the FBI have the airlines have more security? And,
Okay, why the airlines didn't have more security? The government's incompetent. What can you say, you know? And also, what are we going to do? Are we going to discriminate against certain people?
Sure.
You know,
We do it all the time.
do we?
Oh, absolutely.
You have to fill me in on that. Anyways, because okay, the jihadists, they will want to hijack El Al, the Israeli aircraft. Is there any doubt that they would love to take down an El Al plane? Yeah, but they haven't. Why is that? Because the Israelis, they
have the best security.
They don't try to keep things off the plane like we do when we take off our shoes and other things. They profile and keep people off the plane. The jihadists will always get what they need on the plane, okay? Because we try to keep things off. They try to keep people off. We do it wrong.
They got more questions, I'm sure. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, hit me.
Yeah.
Was that JFK in your second to last video showing the projectile going into the model of the Pentagon?
Was it JFK?
Can you replay that second to last video?
No.
I think it was second to last.
No, we don't.
Well, why was JFK in that?
I don't think he was. I think you're mistaken.
Look at it again.
Oh, what are these explosions? Are you hearing explosions? What's your next question?
What's your next question? Ernie!
Yeah. A lot of people say, well, there have been lots and lots of fires in large buildings.
Yes.
We don't know of any other case
Okay,
of buildings.
right. Buildings, why other fires
What's
didn't bring
different
down
about
other
these
buildings,
buildings
right.
in those circumstances?
You got my handout? Did you read it? You didn't read my handout. You got a handout?
I got it. I haven't had time to read it.
That's not my handout. Any case, the buildings were a different design. They had a lot of free space area. Traditional building design, steel frame buildings, have the girders interlocking, intersected throughout the building. This had girders in the middle and the perimeter columns and a lot of free space. So they weren't a traditional design. Besides, the buildings did stay up a long time with big fires, and then they finally collapsed. Mostly they were a different design, and a lot of these buildings would stay up with fire. They are concrete insulated. The Twin Towers were hardly insulated at all. The trusses practically hardly at all, and besides, most of it kind of fell and flaked off because it's just these narrow. You're trying to put spray on insulation on these little bars. It was completely worthless. Fireproofing was worthless.
What about 7?
7-hour fire. Also, it got the middle of it tore out. About 20 stories of the building got tore out. Okay?
The middle of it?
Yes. Like I said, the damn pictures are on the internet. You can look for yourself.
I've looked.
And
It was relatively minor damage.
It was relatively minor damage. There were scattered fires.
so it doesn't matter. Whatever.
In the
Yeah,
afternoon,
building 7 controlled
Silverstein
demolition.
said we're
Okay. Next
decided to
question.
pull it.
All right.
The government did it.
What were some of the tenants in Building 7? Do you know?
CIA, City of New York. I think Salomon Brothers too had a lot of floors. There's known as a Salomon Brothers building.
SEC.
There you go. IRS, I think, had an office.
I have one question for you now myself. Which date do you think was more important? 11/9/89 or 9/11/01?
Whose birthday was it?
No, 11/9/89, the day the windows went up and the walls came a-tumbling down.
I don't know.
The Windows operating system came out when and the Berlin Wall came down. All right.
A lot of explosions, things that cause explosions. Well, the building collapse caused a lot. Each floor collapsing on itself caused explosions. Generators, CRTs, computer screens, transformers. You know, a lot of the firefighters thought it was a transformer explosion. Geez, because they've dealt with it before. They had problems in the trade center with transformers before. Bodies fallen, especially on the glass. Sound like bombs, they said. Fuel air explosives. all the jet fuel caused a lot of explosions, blew out the whole lobby. A lot of things cause explosions. Anybody find any evidence of anything
All right.
that caused?
One more question.
All right, we're gonna be cutting off questions here pretty quick, but let's get, Andy hasn't had one yet,
Yes.
so.
Have you seen or looked at, or, you know, there are videos of the firefighters, fighting firefighters? That's offensive, if you don't mind me saying.
Let's give Andy the mic. Let's give Andy the mic. Go ahead.
What we've heard all night is you telling us that certain kinds of evidence don't exist, or it's our opinion.
Yeah.
What I'm asking you is there's documented evidence of the firefighters that got back to the fire station after the towers
Yep, got
collapsed.
it, seen it.
The videos they reported being eyewitnesses
Yep,
as the
boom,
layers
boom,
of
boom.
explosives went
Yep.
off. They knew what they were
Yeah.
talking about.
What were they
The
talking
twin-
about?
The twin towers were blown to dust with
Is that what they
explosives.
said?
Yes. That's
Oh,
exactly what they
fine.
said.
Did they say it was explosive?
They said it was
Explosive?
explosives.
They said it was you
by
have
that
that
night,
left?
they said they witnessed controlled demolitions. They were-
Go ahead and read it. Read the
I
reference.
have 3
Read the
depositions
Okay,
here.
now, we're
Read the
gonna
References
have,
are in a bunch of places.
all right.
I have 3 depositions
Okay,
from the
let's
firefighters.
let Mike Lee answer the question, and then we'll let our right honorable friends rebut him in a rebuttal period.
Linson, you bring all kinds of things with you. Why don't you read off the quote from the fire department? What the fireman said.
Okay,
Read off the quote.
Which quote are you
The
talking
one that said it was explosives that brought down the
I
building.
have 3. I
Go
have
ahead.
Yeah, I've seen that
Katia, I
video,
have
and he
Dixon,
pretty much paraphrased
and I
it,
have
and that's
Ruby.
Yeah, he
exactly what
paraphrased
said.
it. Why don't we quote what they
Okay.
said?
You should know that.
I know they paraphrased it.
Investigating this thing, you would know that.
Here, these are
I'm not making the
depositions.
assertion.
You're off.
All right.
These are depositions.
Read one where it says that explosive brought down the building.
All right.
One.
Just pointing out who's asking, but.
Okay,
Go ahead, we'll wait.
Charlie, go ahead.
Is there anyone who has come forward for a tell-all book to say, I was involved in planning and executing this operation?
I haven't found any. Have you?
Is
Have
there
anybody?
one person
I'm gonna respond.
in any agency of the
I
government,
have. No, I haven't.
any
Answer the question.
federal employee that I...
No, haven't heard anybody come on and say, yeah, it was a, go ahead,
You
read the quote.
don't want me to read
Go
the
ahead, read your
whole
quote.
thing.
Well, where it says, read us where it says explosives brought down the building. There you go.
As my officer and I were looking at the south tower, it just gave. It actually gave at a low floor, not the floor where the plane hit. Because we originally had thought there was like an internal detonation, explosives, because it went in succession. Boom, 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 and then the tower came down.
Right, go ahead and read it again.
I've got 2 more. Do you want me to
Read that one again, go ahead.
No, that's enough. I think everybody heard it.
And what you, let me quote.
What's the point?
Okay, what's the point? Here you go. Because we originally had thought
Yes,
there was like an internal detonation explosives.
yes. Now,
So
can
they
you read the whole
thought-
thing again? Read the whole thing again.
You didn't want to, and now you want me to read it again?
Yeah, no,
It went
well-
boom, boom, boom. Yeah, they
It's-
thought it looked like, okay, here you go. You know what happens?
What you failed to say this time was that it
Boom, boom,
actually
boom.
gave at a lower floor,
Right.
not the floor where the plane hit.
How do you know what floor they're talking about?
Because, you have to
You
ask
don't
the
know,
guy.
do you?
No, here's the deposition. You know,
Okay.
ask him.
Okay, listen.
All right.
This is what our mind does. You see something that you can't comprehend, your mind reaches to the familiar. They've been through the 93 World Trade Center bombing. They reach back, Jesus, another bombing. There isn't any firefighter you can find that now say they believe explosives brought down the building. Show me one quote where any firefighter said, I believe explosives brought down the building.
Are you talking
Their
Okay,
initial
okay.
reaction was
Are you
explosives.
As much as I'd like to continue this debate, I am
Okay.
going to have to cut this off and go to rebuttals. I'm not going to even ask how many have rebuttals. Let's stick with Lee. You're going to get 4 minutes, and I'm going to strictly time it real good. And let's get started with the rebuttals. Please line up if you're ready to start. Ted, I know you're chomping at the bit. And a number of others are chomping at the bit, so come on up and let's get started. Please use the mic.
The truth, you're afraid of the truth.
4 minutes.
As soon as we, okay, go ahead, I got your time.
Tim, turn off the projector.
Okay, first of all, can you all hear me in the back?
Yeah.
All right. I think it does a disservice to the memories of those who are either gone and we don't know how they're gone, or gone and we can confirm they're passed away, to try to make this a personal thing. Okay, this affects everyone on Earth when we talk about how do we want to make our planet a more peaceful place to live for everybody. So I think it's a disservice to the memories of those people who have died or either directly or indirectly in these events, because we have to remember that we're talking about real human lives here, whether they're ours or someone else's. So it's not a good idea to make it personal, because then it stops being about ideas about democracy and just turns into a freak show. Okay, I don't think we have enough time at this forum to talk about these issues, but I'll try. Abraham Lincoln said, "Let the people know the facts and the country will be safe." And Noam Chomsky once said, "The United States is unusual among the industrial democracies in the rigidity of the system of ideological control, indoctrination, we might say, exercised through the mass media." One of the movies that I've watched that makes me come to a lot of conclusions about that time, maybe not this specific event that the speaker talked about, and I do thank the speaker for being here today. College of Complexes is exercising freedom of speech, because you have the freedom to say what you said tonight, and I'm glad you did, because that's a good place to live instead of some place that doesn't let you have the freedom to say what you said. So it's respectful. One of the things that influenced my mind is the movie No End in Sight. It's a great documentary. Another one is a book by Naomi Klein called The Shock Doctrine. And another one is a book by Congressman Dennis Kucinich, which is the 35 Articles of Impeachment in the case of prosecuting George W. Bush. When there's a mob boss in the community who's wreaking havoc on the community and pain and suffering, and all of these things that the mob boss is doing is becoming well known by the public, and the public starts to have this new thing called social media and wants to get together and organize, bring them to trial for those crimes. The mob boss, if he's kind of a clever guy, maybe not the most brilliant guy in the community, but kind of a clever guy, is going to need a decoy. He's going to need a distraction. It's going to have to be a damn good one. So I'm not saying that there's a certainty that something did happen or didn't happen. What I'm saying is a lot of times this is a high-hanging fruit on the tree, because we don't have time to all be investigative journalist teams 24/7. That high-hanging fruit on the tree where we say, well, you have to come to a certainty right now, public. You have to know for sure one way or the other. You can't be doubtful in that in-between zone. That's dangerous, because you don't know whether that's something that's green or red or orange up on the tree, whether that's a fruit or a baseball or a tennis ball or a wiffle ball, what that is up there. I'd like to focus on the low-hanging fruit. There are gangsters in government at that time who were wreaking havoc, okay? They were commoditizing our Earth's land, air, and water. They were criminalizing our minds, our voices, and our actions. They were privatizing our public budgets, our employment options, and our educational opportunities. Okay, so let's focus on the policy that they rammed through after this event happened, no matter what we the people come to a conclusion on this event. And I just want to say that when he says you're either with us or against us, I very proudly am with neither and against both. Okay, Slim Brundage once said, in the USA, we'd rather spend $1 to kill somebody than a dime to buy a meal for a starving kid. You can not stop an ideology with bullets, and you can't buy peace with dollars. And Alice Walker once said, the most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. Okay, that's my time, and I just want to say we do have the power, and we can question, and we can put tyrannical presidents in jail for treason, whether terrible things happened at the time of their power or not. Thank you to
What was that video again? What was that video?
Excuse me.
All right, Ted.
Okay. There's a field of science called, first of all, ballistics, but more specifically terminal ballistics, which describes what happens when a projectile hits a target or a barrier. And contrary to what Bill says, the primary determinant of what happens in that case, in any given case, is not the speed, because in all collisions, we're talking about speed, and these people are mainly interested in what happens with bullets hitting targets, tank cannon rounds, okay? So we're talking about speed in all of these cases. But you have two objects, and what determines whether the projectile penetrates the barrier is the strength of the projectile and the barrier, the two of them. So when you have a large discrepancy, in the case of a barrier which is very big, very strong, very dense, okay, those are technical terms, by the way, strength, density, hardness, like steel, like thick steel and concrete, and then you have a hollow aluminum tube, which is that's exactly what a plane is. It doesn't matter how fast that plane is coming. It's not going to penetrate. It's going to be smashed like that. Okay, that's a very close analogy right there. So the whole business of these planes and then going to the ground is very dense. That's why you have to have earth-moving equipment, heavy-duty equipment, to excavate the ground below a few inches. Soil is the only soft part of the earth, which is just a few inches. Below that, you get very dense clays and then bedrock. So a plane is not going to go into the ground willy-nilly and embed itself in the ground and not be found. That's a bunch of baloney. How much time do I have?
You got
A little over 2 minutes.
A little over 2 minutes.
30 seconds.
Okay. Let me, can I borrow your table there for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a representation of what happened to either of the World Trade Center towers. You have some damage toward the top, okay? Like, let's say around here. All right. Now, what's going to happen if the building starts to come down? First of all, just because there's damage up here doesn't mean that the building is going to collapse. There's no reason for the building to collapse. But even if it starts to come down, what's going to happen? You have a strong structure below here, okay? Bill says it's hollow. Yes. The World Trade Center towers were huge steel towers. They had a lot of air in them, but they also had humongous steel columns and a whole bunch of concrete. They were strong structures. There's no reason for this thing to come down through the rest of the building. And certainly, without question at all, it is not going to come down like this at that speed. Period. That's utterly ridiculous. Yeah. It's going to encounter resistance, and that's going to take time. And scientists have determined that it would take quite a long time if it came down through the rest of the tower. So the whole thing is cartoon physics, pure baloney. Thank you.
Well, that's 16.
All right. Next reporter up, please.
16 seconds to come down.
Have you ever worked at a construction site? No, but so what?
You don't have to
All right, Sid.
Yeah, when I first...
All right,
gentlemen, one pool at a time.
One pool at a time, gentlemen.
When I first heard about the Twin Towers, I thought it was more or less what happened in Germany, the Reichstag fire, where they blamed the communists for it, and then they went ahead and prosecuted them and got them out of the way. That's what I first thought. Now another thing, hitting the Pentagon didn't make sense to me. Why would they hit the Pentagon, where all the generals are, where people make their plans to attack other countries, so forth and so on? Didn't make any sense. Another thing is you got a lot of so-called terrorists that commit suicide, and they carry out these. They steal a truck or something, or some other vehicle, and they blow themselves up in it. If not, they tie it around their bodies and walk into a place and blow themselves up. So it's very logical that they would do this. There's no other way for them to attack the United States. What they done in the United States was strictly a pinprick. That's all it was. It's not going to take down the government or anything, but it would do, according to bin Laden, is get the United States so damn mad it's going to attack some country in the Middle East. Of course, it didn't attack Saudi Arabia, where most of these people came from, but it wanted to take down Iraq. So it blamed Iraq for the problem, and now we're still in Iraq. The United States is in 7 wars throughout the Middle East. They're on the border of Russia, and people say Russia is the aggressor, which is totally ridiculous if somebody looks at the facts. They had a government that was elected in the Ukraine, and this government needed capital. So it went to the United States and looked at their terms. Then it went to Russia and looked at their terms, and it accepted Russia's terms. Well, the United States couldn't accept anything like that. So what did it do? It armed fascists in the Ukraine, anti-Semites and reactionaries, and they attacked the eastern part of the Ukraine. That was it. And now people say Russia's the enemy.
Yeah.
How many countries did Russia attack throughout its short history? None. How many attacks did the United States make on other countries in the 20th century? Through its surrogates or by itself? 100 countries.
No,
It's very obvious. It's very obvious that the United States is an attacker. But the trouble is that people are so indoctrinated. They're incapable of thinking, incapable of making rational thought. So they just repeat the same garbage over and over again like Hitler done, and now people believe anything they say.
All right. Yeah.
I believe the government was involved in 9/11. The only question is, which government? The government that was involved is looking more like it was the Saudis.
Yeah.
And now the Congress has actually cleared way for citizens to sue the Saudis. So there must be something there to that. That's all.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Really appreciate
Take
everyone
care,
coming here and
our young
participating.
lady.
Yes, I did.
I just have a real quick question that wasn't brought up today, Mr.
Take care of
Lee.
yourself.
When the firefighters, the excavators were digging in the bottom part of the World Trade buildings, they came across a huge glob of molten material. And I'd never seen any explanation what caused this, why did it stay hot for weeks and weeks after they were pouring millions of gallons of water on this to keep the fires down, but yet when they dug down maybe 20 feet below, they pulled up a big, almost a cubic yard of molten material. And where did this come from? How did it get there? Thank you.
They're mine.
Go ahead.
How many countries, he said, has Russia invaded? None. Bullshit. We forget about Hungary in 1956. We forget about when Russian tanks rolled down Prague in the streets in Prague in 1960.
I'm talking about the present government, not the other government.
I'm talking about the whole thing. Russia's
Not the
policy
same
did
government.
one fool at a time, said.
Okay.
All right.
All right, guys, play nice.
Now, Russia's foreign policy changes little from the Tsarist times to communist times to now. It's all one ball of wax. And what about when Stalin invaded Eastern Europe after the Second World War? When he split up Poland with the Nazis just at the beginning of the war? When he marched into the Baltic republics at the beginning of the war? So, Russia's been invading countries all over the place.
Georgia.
It's their fault.
That's right. And yes, Georgia was just pointed out. Second, I've heard a great deal of talk from the 9/11 people about how it was a conspiracy. Now, I agree the government's done some very stupid things. It gathers a lot of intelligence, and then it doesn't connect the dots because it's too incompetent to put it all together. This isn't news. It goes back to the Battle of Shiloh during the Civil War, when General Sherman on the night before the battle poo-pooed reports that the Confederates were on the move. Well, he shouldn't have, because the next day there was a huge surprise attack, and General Sherman was driven back. And it was only because General Grant rallied the troops and that they were able to, in fact, win the battle, but at considerable cost. The bottom line here is when people quote to me David Ray Griffin and some of these other so-called experts, that's a little like when I used to see those Bufferin or Anacin commercials when I was a kid. 9 out of 10 doctors recommend Anacin or Bufferin. And I think there's just about as much validity in their claims as there were as in the 9 or 10 doctors. And oh yes, the point was made, well, they don't cover elevators with sheetrock, that would be against code. It would not be the first time that buildings were built that violated building codes. This goes on in Chicago, or at least it did all the time. Why do you think the firm's McCormick Place burned down in 1967? Because it wasn't properly insulated, there weren't fire hydrants where they were supposed to be, and as a result, there was a huge, massive fire, and McCormick Place had to be completely rebuilt. Now, granted, that wasn't a terrorist attack, that was just stupidity. All the same, I'm sorry, I'll stick with the 9 out of 10 doctors, thank you.
All right. Have an open mind.
else?
They were using aluminum wiring.
Guys, you don't know what you're
Go
talking.
ahead, Charlie.
None of you guys know what you're talking about. This place littered with exhibits here and mapping stuff. All right, let's thank our speaker here very much, all right? And I guess we're gonna see Andy here next week. I imagine he'll be talking about this as well. By the way, thank you, Bill, for there's a handout on the literature table if you're interested. I see Andy's coming up here. And Ted, you'll be returning December 10th to continue. He spoke last week, was it?
Yep.
So he'll be coming back. I don't have much to say on this topic. Because Andy's here, I have spent inordinately more time on the internet on this topic than I should have. But I don't know. I must confess I'm a bit on the skeptic side regarding this. I just want to say one thing. After 15 years, there's no conspirator, no one who was directly involved in the execution of other, if you want to call it the conspiracy, no one has come forth as a participant and raise their hand and say, yes, I took part in this, in the planning and execution of this. Now, what your reason you need that for, and I was trying to tell you, young lady, is when you go to court to establish truth or falsehood, you have to have exhibits, and you have to match that with testimony of an individual. Now, what I hear is a lot of exhibits, but I don't hear any testimony. Now, the testimony, and I pointed out earlier, was that a fireman heard something or he saw something. But then again, you didn't match it with any demolition exhibit. So therefore, my first thing is, do you have any evidence to go along with the testimony of the fireman? And I give you the answer is no, because it doesn't exist as far as I know. They were looking for the wires and the explosive and so forth. So all you've got is someone, a fireman who's not even experienced in demolitions, like you're saying, you know, it's not even a qualified person to testify on the subject. So why, let's have some criteria on this, because you're gonna waste your time on this stuff here. But anyhow, I think we have a lot of time. I don't think we're done kicking this around. Keep up the research, and we'll be doing this again sometime later. And the other thing I will say this, as a representative of federal employees nationwide, our government does not lie to you. I want to know from you folks, and I hear a lot of disparaging remarks about the government, but you tell me when the government has told a complete fabrication to the American people. I hear some things, well, there was a Gulf of Tonkin, what, 1966? I honestly,
64.
I do not understand, in many years that we were involved in manipulating the truth or facts or figures or information like that. Perhaps in Congress or something, in the political arena, when it comes down to the government itself, this is so beyond anything in the day-to-day operations of the government of the United States that we're saying that they had this enormous thing involving the complexities of execution beyond belief, which no one has come forth to say I participated in, and yet there's no past. The government is very accurate. As a matter of fact, sometimes I used to think we're basically too honest. We give away too much information. And these great things, and I've heard this stuff, the CIA, this is kind of like Holly Side kind of crowd
What
stuff.
about Bush and the
Iraq? No, they have not, the government has not put out, as a matter of fact, we err on the side of telling too much of the truth. We got to be a little bit more like the other countries, if anything.
Bush tell the truth?
Yeah. Yes. When did he lie?
The weapons of mass destruction.
You know?
Ask people who were there.
Okay,
I generally, we don't know if they generally thought that or not.
Charlie, time's up,
All
Charlie.
right, what do you mean, time's up?
What about the
You're trying to tell like, yeah, that's because he didn't like what I was saying. Anyhow, thanks for the pencil too. I'm gonna keep mine. American pencil, made in America.
What about the unemployment?
Yeah.
Ready?
What about the?
All right,
Charlie,
let's
sit down, be quiet.
I think I speak for everyone when we saw Ed Schultz on NBC was quoted, and CNBC saying, if you're a Republican, how do you win a debate? Will you stand there and lie your ass off until the clock runs out? I would like to personally apologize to Bill Lee for he played the clip, and that was me that yelled, you're lying to us. I don't think Bill Cleet has ever lied to us. Bill and Charlie are two splendid examples of people who can stand in a blizzard of evidence claiming they can't see a single snowflake. Charlie has been doing this to me for years. I give him documented facts. I can't see anything. I can't see anything. There's 150 researchers that produced that paper, thousands of person years worth of research, testimony, documentation. Well, I don't see anything. Well, give me something. Bring me some. Well, that's how you win an argument when you're presenting evidence that is so far out of touch with reality and you believe it. I believe that Bill Lee believes the false pieces of information that he put out here tonight. And several pieces of this were so far out of touch with observable reality that if you presented it to a court with a judge and a jury made up of 8th grade science students, you would be laughed out of court. He misrepresented the kinetic energy concept. Throwing a beer can or a pop can at your head 200 miles an hour would hurt your head. But throwing that same pop can at a 30-foot diameter steel telephone pole is not going to make any difference at all. Everybody should go see the movie that's out right now with Tom Hanks. It's called Sully. I saw it the other night. It shows what happens. Bill Lee was absolutely correct when he said that birds flying into the engines of a jet will shred the engines. Well, if a few pounds of birds coming in a couple hundred miles an hour can destroy the engines, what would a 500-pound steel girder do if it ran into the wing? If it was hanging in the midair by a balloon and a plane flew into that girder, what would happen? It would slice the wing right off. You'd have aluminum shrapnel going everywhere. The reason that we were shown crappy video fakes of the planes going into the towers is because they knew real planes would be shredded by the superstructure of the tower. We teach 7th graders to go back to square one In order to solve any problem, you have to correctly identify the problem. Start with something you know. This gold flyer I made up, anybody got copies, anybody wants one, we listed 3 basic gold standard facts that are used by credible researchers all over the world. The first fact is, number 1, all 7 buildings were slated for demolition since 1990. The World Trade Center, all 7 buildings were demolished that day, basically. They filmed the first 2 and sold it as a terrorist event, New Pearl Harbor. Second fact, the Twin Towers, there was no kind of collapsing going on with the Twin Towers. The Twin Towers were blown to dust and converted to dust in the air by massive explosives. Number 3, the towers along with all the buildings were not damaged significantly by fire. Whatever the events were, the destruction of the towers was filmed that way with all the different camera angles to kick off the American support for the pre-planned invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan. Every single piece of what we've been told about 9/11 has proven to be false. And one final thing, Bill, I found it very extremely mentally, psychologically abusive to keep telling us, well, that guy's crazy and there's nobody that backs him. There's tens of thousands of researchers all over the world that back David Ray Griffin,
Where?
our architects and engineers.
He's got 1,800.
Log on to the website called Patriots 9/11 and start to read. Patriots Question 9/11. There's thousands of them in different disciplines on that one site. And there's a conference going on you can log on to in New York. They're meeting 2 days, yesterday and today. Today and tomorrow.
Andy, there's only a little over
Okay.
1,000 architects and
I have a
engineers.
proclamation on the 15th anniversary of the 9/11
One
event.
approval at a time, Charlie.
Sunday, September 11th, 2016. A national day of fasting, reflection, and prayer, that we may stop our normal daily activities and judgments that we may have, reflect on the suffering the event has caused to all parties, and pray for new guidance that may open us toward peace that is needed for the world.
I kind of feel a lot like Bill Lee does myself. Because anytime I talk about the proclamations and goodness of nuclear power, particularly the thorium molten salt reactor, I am met with ridicule. When I can prove through a lot of various fact sets and testimony and many other quite good evidence that this is a safe source of nuclear energy.
Like Fukushima.
That was a light water reactor, Charlie. Not a light, not a molten salt reactor.
Oh, yours is different.
There is a big difference, but I'm not going to get into it, the technical aspects here, because I know too myself that there are several significant lies being propagated by environmentalists resulting from nuclear power. There are several fundamental assumptions that they say it's dangerous when not a single person has been killed anywhere as a result of a nuclear accident in the civilian nuclear world, and I can prove it.
Not yet.
I can prove it. And the fact of the matter is that it's probably one of the most safest industries in the world. In its present form, I would agree with you. A lot is wrong, as well as one of the fundamental developers of that same reactor by the name of Alvin Weinberg, who was also one of the first to talk about global warming. Also one of the first to proclaim the dangers of these types of reactors if used in a civilian nuclear power source. So much so that he was fired in 1973 by the Nixon administration. But, as we said before, you guys have your own beliefs, particularly this wacky one that says wind and solar are going to power the world.
Yeah.
When we know that we need much, much, much more power. But anyway, I'd like to thank Bill Lee tonight for a wonderful presentation. I'd like to thank everybody here again for coming. And Mr. Lee, if there's no more rebutters, why don't you come on up and have the last word. Come on, guys, let's give it up for him. He did a good job tonight. Yes.
I've got one interesting anecdote.
Okay, let's hear it. Want to come on up and give it? You'll have up to 4 minutes, but if you got an
I'll
interesting
be short.
anecdote, let's hear it real quick, and we'll let Mr. Lee come on.
As long as you've not been paid off by the government.
I had a nephew come out on September 8th to a wedding from the New York, New Jersey area. So they went to the wedding, and on Sunday, there was like a brunch, and they started to drive back. They had they had quadruplets, 2 boys and 2 girls, who were 4 years old at the time. He was an IRS agent, he still is. And he drove back, started out Sunday, and finished up on Monday, and was supposed to go back to work on Tuesday. But everybody said, well, you're too tired, why don't you take another day off? So he did. His place of work was the World Trade Center. I believe it was building number 7. So he might have been there that day. He is in the criminal division, carries a gun, etc., and probably would have run into the towers as a first responder, as a federal agent and whatnot, and all that would have come down on him. But he wasn't there that day. So here, the father of 4 kids who are just starting their 2nd year of college, he made it through that day, but he was called in to go looking for body parts for weeks and months after that, and suffered from nightmares and everything, probably still does. So just a little anecdote about that day from my personal perspective.
And again, let's thank him for his Mr. Lee, are you ready to give us our final word? No, we're ready. If you want to go ahead and...
Okay. So Andy, I sincerely apologize for popping while you were speaking. I was just caught up in the moment. I sincerely apologize wrongly. You know, it's an interesting thing about the first responders hearing explosions. If you read their account, about 1/3 of them heard a freight train approaching. About 1/3 of them heard the roar of a plane approaching. We're talking about the collapse. About 1/3 heard, man, it's another plane, like it's taking off or something. And about 1/3 said they heard explosions. Yeah, there's all kinds of explosions going on all over the place. So either these planes impacted the Pentagon, the World Trade Center towers, and Flight 93 went into the ground, enabled by 19 jihadists, or we're to believe the government orchestrated 4 planes being taken, hundreds of people dying in the planes, thousands of people, they lied about what they saw, that they lied about seeing airplane parts, that they lied about seeing planes going to the Pentagon or the World Trade Center. And 15 years later, this big conspiracy, no one's ever come forward, and even in secret, you know, was it deep throat in the parking garage, whatever, saying, yeah, you know, well, I was part of it, I knew about it. If this was so obvious, why aren't the majority of the physicists and engineers and others telling us this is so damn obvious? No, we've got to, pardon? The majority? Go ahead. What? Anyways, no, it puzzles me. It's so damn obvious, there's just a very small fringe group who say really silly things. David Chandler, I think it's Chandler, the physicist teacher, David, who talks about the physics of the tower coming down, you know, that it couldn't happen. You know what? You should know I'm talking. I thought it's David Chandler.
Yeah, that's him. Okay,
it is. Okay, good. He's got a diagram, a physics formula, saying how it's impossible that 36% of the building couldn't crush 64%. It's got laid out in physics. That works really good on a chalkboard and in theory, But we're not talking about two solid objects like two bricks hitting each other. The buildings were hollow, and gravity fed is going to make it come down a lot harder and faster. You know about static versus dynamic. The buildings were supposed to support like 3 to 5 times its load weight. Yeah, but then you got 10 times coming down when the building collapses. It ain't going to hold. The buildings were hollow. The fires lasted, well, building 7, it was about 7 hours. Most building materials are rated for like 2 hours, hour, 2 hours, and that's, of course, so people can evacuate the building, give them time for that. If steel doesn't melt and all this stuff, why do they have fire codes to insulate it? And the building codes in New York City, they were changed about the time the towers went up anyway. So yeah, it used to be concrete covered, but it was changed. And it's interesting, people saying, well, you don't know, you don't know. It's all about confirmation bias. You only go to the sources that confirm your suspicions, and you don't go outside that area. So, either the jihadists took over the planes, or there's this big conspiracy, the buildings were rigged in secret, which nobody ever saw, there was no evidence of any explosives ever found, so we're going to believe that. What?
I have a question. It's possible, very quick,
No, this
it's
is not a
possible
question
maybe
time.
aliens did?
No, I'm sorry I misled you last time I said maybe. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't aliens. No, gotta get rid of that. The glob of building material that was melting, yeah, it's probably all kinds of things. Why it was baked, it was insulated, baking down at the bottom, kind of insulated. I thought thermite burns up and it's gone. Really, it just keeps going and going. Okay, fine, learn something new. It's such a dark world that I guess Andy and Ted live in, where they see a government that would kill thousands of their people for whatever reason, and no one ever talks about it or is going to give up the truth. What I see is a world where 1,000 firefighters go into buildings knowing we're probably going to die. But they do it anyway because there's people to save. I see people at the side of the road intervene. A sheriff is being shot. These people stop at the side of the road, they jump out and disarm this person who is killing a sheriff. I see at the Fort Worth courthouse where a disgruntled ex-husband, whatever, comes and wants to kill his ex-wife and his son. And an armed citizen comes in and intervenes. Unfortunately, the perpetrator is wearing body armors and kills the armed citizen. But he still was able to save at least the boy's life. Can't remember the other person. I see a very different world where this stuff doesn't happen. Where people won't let it happen. Talk about Operation Northwoods. People like to bring up Northwoods. This was in the Kennedy administration. They wanted to take over Cuba. Okay, they sound like Cuba and all or Castro. So they're going to take over Cuba. Okay, Joint Chiefs of Staff presented a plan saying, okay, we can do a plane, we can make it remote, operate this plane, fly over around Cuba, have it, we can shoot it down, say the Cubans went in, and we can invade Cuba. Kennedy saw the thing, and this is nuts. And he fired the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It was never carried out. I see a completely different world. Most of all, I don't see any evidence. I haven't seen any yet, and I haven't heard any. I haven't heard any yet. You're saying there are explosions. Yeah, all kinds of things cause explosions. All kinds of things cause explosions. I want to hear those firemen who say, yeah, there were explosives. Yeah, we saw evidence of explosion. You haven't found any, you can't cite any, can you?
It's in the videos. It's in the videos.
Who say it was explosives. They heard, how many times we got to go over this? They heard explosions. They never said it was explosives. They thought they heard. Okay, okay, the big dust cloud. You know, a lot of final statement, okay? A lot of people talk about the big dust cloud saying it's like Richard Gage saying this pyroclastic cloud of dust. Anybody ever hear that? Pyroclastic cloud of dust? You know what a pyroclastic cloud of dust is? It's about 1,000 degrees. There are firefighters just feet from the building who survived, and there were no burns on them. It wasn't damn pyroclastic. The clouds, what they were involved in, one moment. And they were gypsum, which, like I said, the stairwells and the, of course, all the offices were drywall. And then, of course, all the floors were 4 inches of concrete. Yeah, there's going all over, there's dust clouds going all over the place. No one's found any evidence of explosives. I live in a different world, and I go by the evidence and what the majority of the people say. Quick.
Weren't there some cars around the area?
Yeah, cars all over the place. When the buildings came,
They were melted already. Cars were melted down.
there was fire. Melted, the steel didn't melt.
I'm talking about blocks away from the buildings. Blocks away.
Yeah, right. Well, you have to look, really do the research on it. A lot of them were towed afterwards. They show shots of cars blocks away that were burned out. But I don't know if you can actually see cars on fire that were burnt blocks away. But in any case, the building did go out more than a block away. Yeah, a lot of cars on fire. There were a lot of explosions. Cars exploded. Ambulance exploded. Those were also in the statements of the first responders. Yeah, there were a lot of explosions. Final question.
Yeah, why would somebody, let's say terrorists, go through all of this to blow up these the World Trade Center, which was pretty much empty, and a white elephant.
The Trade Center was empty?
It was half. It was.
And you're wrong.
Let me finish.
Completely
It
wrong.
was
Go
not
ahead.
completely occupied.
No, it wasn't. But it was
And,
hardly
and
empty.
it was a white elephant, and that's why.
No, that's not true.
Let me finish it. The Port Authority made the deal with Silverstein to get rid of the building. Silverstein only had it for 6 months. Now, my question is, why would a terrorist organization waste their time blowing up an obsolete building when they could go and contaminate the water supply or use germ warfare to really do a job on the American
That'd be
people?
kind of complicated, and maybe they didn't have the technology. But I know you're an expert at that stuff. You could do it. But in any case, it was, first of all, yeah, do you forget the, well, you are, you told me. Yes.
Thank you.
Don't you remember the 1993 World Trade Center bombing?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, all right.
And they didn't, they failed.
And
They wanted to try another
as long
time.
as you brought it up, who was in charge of
I know it wasn't
Who was
John.
in charge of
Must have been
security?
George Bush's nephew, right?
It was his
Of
brother.
course.
It was
Yes.
his brother. Now, who sold the insurance policy to Silverstein?
We're going down the rabbit hole. See, everything is, this is what last sentence.
This is
the world you live in. Everything is a conspiracy.
Who sold the insurance policy to Silverstein?
I have the gavel. We are now officially out of time. I'd like to thank all of you for attending tonight. Our bus boys need to clear out, so let's get our conversations and our stuff gathered up right away. And I'd like to thank you all for coming. We stand officially adjourned.